Welcome to Becoming and Belonging, a journey of identity and culture. I'm your host, Amy Huggins from Ascension Wellness. Each week, we embark on a journey of discovering who we truly are, navigating the nuance of identity and culture, and learning what it means to belong in our own skin and in the world. Change is the only constant, and it can often be quite disruptive. But does it have to be? Please welcome our guest, Holly Hughes. Holly is a TEDx speaker, an award-winning author, and an intuitive healer. You may have heard her voice on one of hundreds of podcasts and networks that she's contributed to. Drawing inspiration from her journey, Holly channels her life experiences into her writing and into healing practices. When she's not writing, speaking, or helping others live the life they dream about, you might find her dancing, listening to K-pop, or planning her next trip to Seoul. Holly, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Every time I hear like my little intro, the last part, I'm like, yep, yep, yep. All three things. Yes, I did all three today. I'm very excited.
You've done all three today already. That's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I like goals. I like having long-term goals and short-term ones. And a huge part of my own self-care is dancing because I'm not in charge and there's really no expectation and it engages me and gets me moving. And it's like all of my favorite things.
Oh my gosh, because you're not in charge. That just sounds like it sounds so counterintuitive. We all think that we want to be in charge,
No.
but you are challenging that and kind of turning it on its head.
Yeah, I love it. So I've always danced. It's very fundamental to who I am. When I was younger, it was the best way to express myself, especially when words fail. And as a writer, you can wonder like, how can words fail? But sometimes the emotion's too big to sort it out. And when I was younger, I used my body to just like physically work it out. What I love about dancing for me, it's hard. It's a challenge, and I love a challenge, and it's musical and I have a teenager and she can sing. So when we hear music, my body moves, but immediately it goes to her throat and
Mm.
she is like humming and we just interpret sound so different. But when I go to a dance class, people are like, or when I went to Zumba, they'd be like, why don't you teach? Well, why would I? Why would I? I'm
Charge.
in charge. I'm a solopreneur. I'm a mother. I got a lot of things on my plate. I want to go somewhere and just have fun. And I honestly smile the whole time and I get frustrated and laugh at myself. And I think those are all things that adults don't give themselves time or ability or the grace to do.
Mm. Oh, you mean we forget that it's okay to still embrace our inner child.
Yeah, we forget that just because we're grown, it doesn't mean that we can't have fun. I love working with some of my clients and I ask them what their hobbies were when they were younger.
Mm.
And some of them, when they speak of it, like light up. And I was like, why don't you do that anymore? In our worlds, especially with social media, people think we have to monetize everything we do, that the goal is to be seen, noticed, and famous, but that's really not the goal. You want a whole life, like whole, WHOLE, not HOLE. And I think that includes, places where excel and doing things just for the love of them.
In my own life, my granddaddy modeled that for me, but I didn't realize that I wasn't able to appreciate that. I mean, I appreciated it, but not fully. I didn't fully get it until I found myself going through some deep, deep healing and going through that whole reparenting process.
Mm,
And what I realized I caught myself doing was modeling him. Till the day that man died, he watched cartoons every day like religion.
I love him.
And I know, right? And he told jokes and he pulled pranks and he would just do whatever he could think of to make people laugh and smile everywhere he went. I mean, if he was in the grocery store, he was getting a chuckle out of the cashier or the produce stalker or everybody he came in touch with. And when I was going through hard times, that really helped inform me and how I navigated. And it sounds like you just intuitively, kind of like my granddad, it was intuition for him, right?
Mhm.
You just intuitively, your body knows. And you just let go and get out of your way, get out of the way and just let the body do its thing.
It would be great if I was that evolved. Like I like to say, like I tap into this beautiful interdimensional endless love. I tap into super high vibration love. I cry during sessions because it overwhelms me. Me as a person is slightly snarky. Like I have a sense of humor. I'm snarky. I have a temper. You're here to be a person, right? So, I have my humanality. And when it comes to my dancing, I judge myself like, oh, it is not easy being in your mid 50s, walking into a dance class next to a 9-year old or a 20-year-old, or right there's like people of different levels who can still move in a way that I was like, oh, my body doesn't do that anymore, but I'm still doing it. And I love it. I'm nervous sometimes before I like do it in front of like in the group, but that's like all part of it. It's a beautiful challenge and it's fun. And I really like the music. I want to know what cartoons your grandfather watched.
Nickelodeon.
No, really?
Yes.
That's amazing. Like Rugrats Nickelodeon, or is like what era?
Whatever was on Nickelodeon, literally. He watched the old like Bugs Bunny and
Mhm.
stuff like that, of course, but Nickelodeon was one of his favorite channels. So Nickelodeon and I can't remember, was it TV Network? I can't remember the one that showed all of the old black and white TV shows.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
were
I love that. When you say Bugs Bunny, I always think of the big hairy monster. That was like one of my favorite ones, the big hairy monster. Anyway, see,
uh,
very vivid, very vivid. See that little bit of childhood. I think, yeah, we all get really high functioning people, smart people, people who are really deeply caring, forget about that self care includes like fun.
exactly.
And you don't have to be in charge. Let it go.
Yeah,
Controlling your every move in every environment is a part of perfectionism, and that is a fear response. And something's going on, and you're afraid. And
right.
I'm right. I'm sorry you're feeling that way. Let's hope, like, find a way to help you feel better.
Exactly. And also move it through. So you said something intriguing.
Mm.
These emotions can be big and overwhelming. And so you get out of the way and let your body do its thing. But what really stands out to me with that is emotions live in the body. And so if your brain is overwhelmed, if your brain doesn't know or thinks it doesn't know what to do, your body does. And so you just let those emotions roll through you and you're entertaining yourself with the music and the movement.
Right. Also, I have to say, like, I love helping thinkers. A lot of my clients are super thinkers.
Yeah.
So when I look at them, they look like an Excel spreadsheet or Tetris a lot of times. So I'm looking at them and I'm watching them think, like, what is the right answer?
Mhm.
And all I'm trying to find out is their emotional truth.
Mm.
When we get to the emotional truth, the rest will find its way and there'll be a path to healing. The hardest part for and perfectionists is being honest about the emotional truth
Mhm.
because it's a point of chaos. And I'd like to say it doesn't have to be a huge traumatic thing, right?
Yep.
It just doesn't. It probably comes a moment in time where you weren't seen or loved the way you needed to be.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be super intentional or cruel or awful, but it might have happened enough times. Someone else needed more attention in your family, so you got kind of put to the side, or something else was going on, or your parents might just not have the capability. I like to equate sometimes, I'm very big on visuals since that's how I see in my like clairvoyant nature is like when a person has an expectation of another person and they're like, why can't they do it? It's just so simple. I
Mm.
was like, you can't get love from a rock
Yeah.
or you can't get love from a cactus. Like if you take that person and make them an object instead of like willing or projecting all of your emotional needs and wants on them, it will help you take a step back and be like, no, I can't. They keep doing the same thing. Me wanting something else from them is about me. So I either have to alter my expectation and see how that resonates in me. Is my need an old wound? Am I creating a pattern that I know, even though I don't like it? Or is this something that we can work on as a couple or friend or whatever? Be like, hey, what you did hurt me. That's not really working. I find that I'm doing this.
Mhm.
And like, I don't like that I'm doing this. And that might come with a hard conversation, some tears. I cry over everything. Emotions just make me cry. It's okay to cry.
Yeah.
And then you just get through it. You have to go through it.
The only way past is through.
Yeah.
And
And
in
no
it,
one likes the middle. Like the middle
no,
part. No one likes the muddy middle. Everyone's like, I don't want to deal with that part. I get it.
we don't. And those are also the moments that there's so much opportunity there. And I'm not saying I like that messy middle any more than the next person. But the reason I say there's opportunity there is because one of two things can happen. And this is an oversimplification, obviously. We get into that messy middle with a person we're in a relationship with, a partner, a friend, a boss, whatever. And maybe we are able to repair whatever the rupture was. We're able to mend the fence, so to speak, and grow together. And if we go that way, if both people are able to go that way, then that relationship just became stronger.
Yes.
It has a better foundation, more trust, and more integrity and more authenticity. And if both people are not able to go in that direction, there can be some pain there with
Mm.
both people recognizing, or sometimes only one person recognizes, and then there can be a lot of pain. And at the same time, if we choose to leave that, recognizing, okay, the other person and I, it's not about pointing fingers, we're just in different places. They can
Yeah.
be a rock if they need to be a rock right now. That's okay. I can choose to follow what I need right now, but then you're opening yourself up to an entire world of possibility.
Yeah. You don't have to sync with the rock,
Yes. Yes.
right? You don't have to sync. You don't have to hold on to, okay, now I have cartoons in my brain, right? Like Donald, Daffy Duck,
Yeah.
Daffy Duck on the pearl when he's like, it's mine, mine. No, you can't have it. And the clamshell closes because he won't let go of whatever, for him, the wealth of whatever, the power,
Yeah.
whatever that is. Sometimes we cling to things and it's time to let go. And it can be bittersweet. And
Mhm.
it can also be okay. So when you work through all the really hard parts, I like to say this, like, especially with people in divorce, I really want you to work it all out. I really want you to not muddy it up by entangling yourself emotionally or otherwise with other people, right? Because I want you to figure out who you are in this moment, not the person who you were when you met them or who you've been in the relationship to survive. If you're fighting for it, who are you now? And who are you willing to become?
Yeah.
And who are you not willing to be? Like, I don't want you to make yourself small. I don't want you to do all the work. I don't want you to be invisible. I don't want you to be screaming, right? There's all these nuances to every relationship. And there's no relationship that's 50-50. It kind of ebbs and flows with life.
Mhm.
But when you figure all of that out, and you realize I did everything I could and it makes me sad and I'm a bit disappointed and I'll even admit I feel a little bit like a failure,
Mhm.
right? But I can walk away and even if it is still emotional, it won't be as hard. To make the choice, you'll be clear because
Yeah.
your heart and mind and like body and spirit will all be like it's time to go.
Right. And that reminds me of something you said earlier, where the person you are when you get married is different than the person you are in the marriage, is different than the person you are if you go through a divorce, is different than the person you get to choose to be
Mhm.
as a single person again.
Yes, this is my favorite thing to work through with clients. I love supporting people through those transitions, and divorce is the easiest one to explain it in.
Mm.
But really, like when many people marry young, right? And like, are you have you completely individuated from your parents? Are you just making the pattern of their relationship because you know it, even if you never liked it? Those
Right.
are roles. I think we learn so much in what's not said inside our house than what is said,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Right? That's huge. So that's a whole beautiful emotional pattern and truth that you have to discover for yourself. So who you are, young and having fun, or, did you get married because you wanted kids right away? And was it an ideal of parenthood? Because we all know that being a parent is hard.
Mhm.
Right. For me, I had my daughter later in life, and I had been the boss of people. I had done multi-million contracts, and like this infant is screaming at me and I can't make her stop. It's humbling. There
Yes, it
used to be
is.
250 people around me. Now I'm in the house alone with a cat and a baby. Like, it was jarring. Who am I? Because I'm not her anymore.
Right.
Of
Yeah.
course, there's parts of me, a girl still likes to dance, but like you don't have the capacity to do it all at once, right? And then how the relationship and dynamics in the marriage are working out. Are you both growing? Is that what you want? Some people just want the same thing.
Mhm.
And I love that you know what you want. I can't. That's not like really who I am. I like change. Although I'm an introvert and I really like a quiet spot at the same time. So I'm a dichotomy when that's okay too. But I love it when you're coming out of a relationship or coming out of a career, because I also would love to throw this one at you. Whatever unhealed, I'll call it trauma, because my new phrase is I want to take the trauma out of bonding. Whatever
Mm,
trauma you have in relationships, if you're not solving it at home, you're reliving it at work.
absolutely.
Right? You're working for the person who's a certain way and, being disrespectful or a thousand other little things. So it really behooves you to figure out what your voice is, what your path is, and what you want to do for, I don't know. I like 3-year blocks. I used to live way in the future, such an Aquarian. I was like, when I'm this old, I'll be doing this. Or I'm like, and none of that worked. Like God just blew all of that up. So I think 3-year blocks lets you manage where you are, heal some, work towards something, and see the fruition and to see if it is really what you like.
Mhm.
And then as we age and mature, that's another word that people don't like do nowadays, mature.
Yeah.
Then, well, that choice might not work anymore because I also say, like, you don't like playing with the same toys as 8 that you did it for 16, 8, 24, 6. It kind of makes sense. Although you can still like cartoons and dance. Let's not nixnay everything out, but there is
Exactly.
something to it, some sort of rhythm.
When it's almost like instead of instead of cutting out what we used to be, or you, I don't know. I think of growing through school, right? Growing through the ages, like you just said, we like different toys at different ages, but I can have my inner 4-year-old, so to speak, and still enjoy finger painting.
Oh,
And
for sure.
I can have my inner 16-year-old and still get an attitude or whatever.
I love that. I like to say when I'm in a blue mood, I put pigtails in. When
Ooh,
I'm feeling a little sad, because pigtails make me so deliriously happy, right? It's really easy to do. You could braid them or just leave them up because pigtails swing. And it's a very specific sensation on your head of that feeling.
it is
For
too.
right? Sometimes I wear them when I dance. I mean, then I just bring it all in. But it again, like those are those things of self care. I think I like to also tell my husband says this one, like I'm low high maintenance because the things that are really high maintenance about myself, I take care of myself
Um,
because they're important to me.
yeah,
I don't need you to do that for me, but this is what I need to make me happy. Like I used to take my dance class, one of them on Tuesday nights. And sometimes it was really hard to pull away from the family or sports or carpooling and all the stuff, all the stuff.
mhm,
Um, but once I started going again all the time, when I didn't go, my family saw I was unhappy and they were like, go.
right.
because you come back and your cup is full. You're re-energized.
Yeah. And we're talking about change being hard or flipping that on its
Mm,
head, and it doesn't have to be so hard and overwhelming and scary. And you're talking about taking personal responsibility, about
yeah.
knowing what your needs are, being okay with those needs, and then choosing to meet them and not expecting others to meet them for you.
Yeah, that's a hard one for a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
I always say there's a difference between a want and a need. A need has heat. There's a wound in it when you like, like this is what I want. But when I need something from somebody else, I need this from you. You need to give this to me. And on the flip side, I like to teach people how to ask for what they want.
Yeah.
A lot of women will try to mirror. They're like, oh, I'll cook them a really good meal, or I'll do this, I'll plan a trip. And then they get resentful when they're the one always planning the trip or
Right.
always cooking. And they're like, why don't you do that for me? And I like to explain, if you ask someone to do what you need or want,
Mhm.
and they do it, it means they heard you and they love you and they want to give it to you.
Right.
And that was even really difficult for me. So, you can do things like, hey, I like flowers. Can you do that maybe once a month without me reminding you?
Right. Yeah.
Because hello, we have a million alarms on our phone. We can set those kinds of things up, but sometimes I'm super independent as a person. I think you probably are that as well.
Yes, I am.
So if you need to go do something, I most of the time, again, I'm just a person. I'm not offended that you don't want to do it with me. I want you to go do what you like to do and come back and tell me about it.
Right.
Tell me how excited you are, how much you enjoyed that, or how that puzzled you, or frustrated you, or left you thinking, why did I ever want to try curling? I don't know. I don't know. Like, but tell me, we don't have to be joined at the hip to enjoy each other. I think a little breathing room is really important.
It is, and at all. But also, every individual is going to have their own distance with that, their own needs with that, right? Of some people need a little breathing room, and
Mm.
maybe physical touch is their love language, for example, or whatever. And then other people, especially introverts, are going to need a lot more breathing room. I'm on the fence. I'm 50-50 introvert extrovert. And
That's
so
it. That's an expressive introvert. That's what it's called. I like to say I love like a cat.
I love
Oh
like
my God, I'm gonna
oh yeah.
purr. I'm like, I love you. Okay, bye-bye. Peace out. I need to be alone now.
I'm gonna borrow that. I definitely love like a cat. I've never thought about that before.
I'm happy to share it. Love like a cat. I love like a cat. I do, right? Because my cat will love on me, well, and
Yeah.
sit on me and happy foot me and all the good stuff. And then he's like, and let me out.
Yep,
So,
exactly. Mine too. I think physical touch is her love language. And then there's moments when I go to pet her and she slinks away from me, and I'm like, okay, I could easily get in my head right now and make that all about me, but I know you're
mhm.
just being you. You just want your space.
Yeah, I mean, I want to tell people like, I was friends with some people. I am not anymore. And I actually took them to a dance class with me once. And then they kept going and didn't invite me back. And I was like, "Did you just go?" They're like, "Oh yeah, we made plans." I'm like, "You made plans when I was standing there and I invited you. Like, can you not see how that hurts my feelings?" And
Yeah.
one of them was like, I totally get it. The other one cursed me out 10 ways to Sunday. And I
Oh
was like,
my
oh,
goodness.
narcissist. Okay, nice to meet you. I got fooled again. But they're really sneaky. I'm not the best at spotting them. They're too energetically sneaky. But I was like, oh yeah. So you know what I'm saying? Again,
Mhm.
it comes down to communication and what will work and what won't. And if you have the conversation, hey, that hurt my feelings, and someone is supposed to be your friend, they should be able to hear you and yeah, even if it's an argument or a layered conversation.
Yeah. So what you're talking about are really having really good boundaries, really
Mm.
clear boundaries. Talk to me more about that, because a lot of our listeners really struggle with that, to speak up for themselves and communicate, hey, this is my need or my want. Could you help me out with this? And then also having those hard conversations. And how to handle it when it doesn't go as planned.
Yeah, that's like 2.5 weeks of my Real Not Perfect Academy, just because I love doing that in bite-sized pieces, depending on where a person is in the process of being able to say what they want. I was the biggest people pleaser. I loved sharing the story about the time when I was like working. I worked in LA for 18 years in film and TV, and someone would bring me this very fancy Starbucks drink, and I didn't like it.
Mm,
I was like, and I felt guilty
yeah.
for not wanting or whatever. And for 9 months in my 3 hour commute back and forth to work, I was like, how do I tell them to stop doing it? I mean, I'm like, I felt so guilty. Practiced in my car. I'm really telling you for months.
Yeah.
Finally said, hey, I appreciate that, but I don't like that. Can you just, I don't do that. They're like, oh, sure. They didn't care. They're like,
Right.
sure, no problem. There was like a nothing to them, but was so afraid of hurting their feelings.
Yeah.
So that is a really good starting point. If you're worried about speaking up, are you afraid of hurting their feelings? And why are their feelings more important than yours?
Right. And also, because that could have gone differently, which is what you were worried
Mm-hmm.
about. And sometimes it does. I'm thinking of a particular person I used to know who was trying to give me clothes one time. She was getting rid of clothes and I actually liked some of them. Our styles were so completely different. It took me by surprise. Like, why would she offer me? Because I don't actually like her clothes. But I like some of them. I'm like, oh, these are really cool. But we our
I'm laughing so hard. I know, like I'm just laughing. This is epic. Yes. They wanted to make you a mini me. Go ahead, keep going. That's excellent.
oh, you read my mind
No,
because
I'm just reading you because that's what I do. Like she just wanted to make you a little you. That's
yes.
fascinating.
So much so because she and I were completely different sizes. So how am I going to even cram myself into her clothes? Like it's not going to work. And so
Mm.
she absolutely wanted a little mini me. And I tried so hard. Thank you so much. I really like this one and this one, but they're the wrong, I can't wear that size. I wear this size. Oh, no, no, you'll fit. This will fit. Just go try it on. Like the last thing in the world I wanted to do was put myself in something to make it a second skin to show off all the things I didn't want to show off. And she wouldn't let it go. But it was so devastating to her that I didn't want what she had to offer, which now I can understand now. At the time, I was so confused. I can understand now where she's coming from and why she had that particular challenge, but maybe that's an episode for another day. But for our listeners, when they experience those sort of
Mm.
situations, when if they go up to the person bringing them coffee and say, thank you, but no, thank you, and it goes sideways and that person makes it all about them, how do you do that boundary work thing?
Well, right. So your feelings will get hurt.
Mhm.
And I would, depending on the person, like I'll pretend I met you during the clothing. They be like, I really appreciate that you wanted to share that with me, but it's not really a fit for me right now. If you want to hold it until later, that'd be great. Or you can give it to someone else who that might work for,
Yeah.
which is can be really difficult when someone's manipulating you, which is what that person was doing, right? So I like to also break things down. Why it's so hard to say no is like I have a checklist. Maybe I'll send you a note. People can have it too. But it is about like, are they asking? It's like 10 steps to say no. The first thing is to figure out why are they asking you?
Mm,
Are they asking you because you always say yes?
right.
Are they asking you just even though, and then you can't say, then you say yes, and then you can't get it done on time, and then you start more drama? Are you used to drama?
Mm,
Are you a procrastinator and you need anxiety to fuel you and move you forward? Who are you without that fear? Right? There's like, I go deep, like, let's go deep. But the really basic way to just say no is, I'm sorry, no, without explanation. If you give an explanation to someone who's using you and manipulating you, they will take your words and throw them back at you because they're really good at that. I'm not cruel, so I don't know how to do that personally, but that is typically what happens. I love also to remind people about this. The first time you heard the word no, It was used to protect you.
Mm.
A parent probably say, no, don't put your hand on the stove. No, don't run with scissors. No, don't shove the crayon up your nose. I don't know, whatever you were doing, you were a little quirky person listening, right? But as we get older, we forget. And when, as teenagers, we're told no, we feel misunderstood and not seen. And like our hormones distort the word. And I
Mhm.
also like to tell people, like, if I say nine yet año, that's no in many other languages. And I bet you know them, at least one of those other words.
Yep.
And right. So I think that you have to remember that you are protecting yourself.
That's a great reframe, especially for people who maybe the word no was used in more controlling ways,
Mm,
right? People who came from not great families, and no can be overused when parents don't, and let's face it, kids don't come with the instruction manual. We're figuring this stuff out on the fly, but sometimes parents can really be heavy-handed with the word no. But you're right. Even in dysfunctional families, the first time any of us ever heard the word no was most likely for our own protection.
don't run in the
Go
street.
back to that. Yes.
Yeah, don't run in the street. Look both ways. It is that is a really super tricky one. I That's why I also like we'll go back to your grandfather and like comics and images. If you need to make the person you are need to have a difficult conversation or set a boundary with, if you can't imagine them as a rock or a cactus, make them a cartoon character. In
Hmm.
your mind, I'm going to be talking to whatever. And if they're a mean person, make them an anime. Make them like a creature if you need to and practice facing it. I know it sounds like simple, but I promise you it really works. It really, really works. And you can practice with a friend.
That's fantastic advice because it gets you out of your head. You're having a conversation from a different place. I guarantee if somebody were talking to a cactus, they would be able to say whatever they need to say, and they would be able to hold their boundaries more easily.
Yeah. And here's another one in modern technology, there's texting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So although I prefer a conversation because I'm so Gen X, but especially if it's a difficult situation, you can send a text and the text can be, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
I have.
And if you lose those people that you say no to, 100% purposeful, you can see they're using you.
Yes. And that's such an important point, right? Because if somebody cannot respect our boundaries and they leave, then all it means is we chose to no longer meet their needs that were overriding our boundaries.
Right. You don't need
So
to be with the energy vampire.
yes, oh my goodness. And we all have energy vampires. We all know them. We just don't always know we know them.
Mhm.
So many people don't know that phrase. And it was game changing to me in my life when I learned about energy vampires. And I'm like, oh, yeah, like every person in my life. Let me change that.
It is because if you're used to it, you'll attract it. And if you're a yes
Exactly.
person, energy vampires will come
Mhm.
and they will feed off of you.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, this has been a fantastic conversation. I really want to know about the Real Not Perfect Academy that you mentioned.
Oh, thanks. I love it. I created it years ago. I wrote a book. It's called Real Not Perfect: How to Become Your Happy, Authentic Self. And the academy itself is, I think I'm going to rechange the name. I think I want to call it the Real Not Perfect Experience because it is very intimate. It's one-on-one coaching for most of it over 3 months. And really, it's a step by step process to help you regain your voice, your value, and your self worth. So, if you do have problems saying no, if you want to make a choice in your life that might radically change it, it doesn't have to be a divorce or career change. It could be like, I will no longer tolerate this kind of negativity or people putting me down, but I don't know how to step back up.
Yeah.
We just get I call it's heart healing, and heart represents H as we get honest, we excavate your emotions, we amend them, we reclaim your self-worth, and then you triumph. I think that's what I do it now. But it really is about redefining yourself in your words now. And then how can we support that? And putting all of those support pieces in place, because it's really hard to do it all alone. And I don't think we're here to do it that way.
I couldn't agree more. We are so not here to do it that way. And that sounds like a brilliant, what I'm hearing is you help them externalize it somewhat and create a framework where they are recognizing their own authenticity and they are making choices that feel right for them in the moment. But then you're helping them to internalize that
Yes.
and live it.
Yes, we practice.
Oh my gosh, that sounds incredible. How can listeners contact you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. If you look up Holly Hughes Intuitive, I will pop up. Also, my website is Holly Hughes Intuitive, and links to me are all there. Come find me, follow me, tell me you heard me here.
Yes, listeners, please go find her and check out the Real Not Perfect Academy. That sounds absolutely incredible. And Holly, do you have any final words or thoughts for our listeners today?
Yeah, you ready?
I'm ready.
Life's too short to wear uncomfortable bras or be in uncomfortable relationships.
Mic drop. That is by far the very best final words.
That's one of my Holly healing tip. Like I just love that one because we all have a bra that's uncomfortable. I don't know why we don't throw it away. We're like, no, it's no, life's too short for that.
Okay, well then I want to echo, I want to build on that and issue a challenge to every listener, no matter when you hear this episode, go to your closet or your drawers right now and find the most uncomfortable bra and throw it away.
Yes. I
Holly,
want you guys to know, no, they need to take a picture of them throwing it away and then tag us. Then we'll know
yes.
you really do it.
Oh my gosh, that's even better. Absolutely perfect. Holly, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Becoming and Belonging. I'd love to hear from you. What was your biggest takeaway from today's episode? Share your thoughts, reflections, any questions that came up. You can connect on social media or leave a comment wherever you're tuning in to keep the conversation going. If you found this episode meaningful, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and remember, you belong here.